A little over a year ago, I stripped down my iPhone. No social media, no color, as few distractions as possible. Basically, just the essentials. And honestly, I haven't looked back. Today, I'm trying something a bit more radical. A phone that was never designed to distract you in the first place. This is the Mudita Compact. I'm not trying to escape technology. I just want tools that respect my time, and in a world where devices are designed to distract, this one asks a different question. What if peace and function could coexist in your pocket? Now, full disclosure, Mudita did send me this phone, and this is a sponsored video, so it will not be a review. Mudita asks specifically for my honest first impressions, and so that is what you'll be getting today. So I've been using the Compact as my daily driver for a little over a week now, and I have some thoughts to share. In my mind, there are three product categories that fit in this trying to minimize the amount of time you're spending on your devices segment. The first is what I did for the last year. That is a smartphone with some of the features dumbified to simplify that and make it less distracting. The downside of that, of course, is that with a few clicks and taps, you can just reset it back to being a distraction-filled device. Then on the other end of the spectrum, there are true dumb phones that can just text and call, and that is about it. This phone falls right in the middle of those, in the category I would call the minimalist phone. This is a dumb phone plus some features, or this is a smartphone that is dumbed down minus some features. In my eyes, this seems like a very nice balance between the two. So for a phone to be able to function as my daily driver, it needs to succeed in three different areas. Number one, being able to send and receive important messages and phone calls with collaborators, friends, and family. For me, this succeeded in every way. My contacts know to contact me via my phone number for messages or calls. That's just something I've done for years now. And so it was very easy to switch over to this device. Most people didn't even notice. Number two, having a place to jot down notes and input calendared events while I'm away from the house. So there is an offline notes app that allows me to get my ideas out of my head quickly and onto paper. The only downside is I need to manually transfer them onto my online system when I get home. The same goes for the calendar. It's totally offline, just like taking notes on paper or keeping a paper calendar. For me, this isn't very different than how I normally operate. For calendared events, I found myself just having to tell people I will get back to you when I get home. Number three, I need to be able to reliably navigate when I'm traveling to unfamiliar places. This is where the Compact currently falls short for me as a daily driver. You can download offline maps and navigate around, but at the time of this video, they don't specifically have turn-by-turn navigation. However, while I was editing this video, Mudita came out with an announcement that turn-by-turn navigation is coming in their July 2025 update, so I will withhold any judgment until we see how that manifests over time. The operating system is simple and streamlined with just the core tools you might need. It doesn't have an app store, but you can sideload apps onto it. Clearly, that is something you do at your own risk. Apparently, Mudita will be making this even easier to do in their July software update. Now, the catch is you can't load any apps on here that use Google services. So for example, I couldn't load YouTube onto this phone. It just wouldn't work. But I have seen apps like Spotify, WhatsApp, and Notion work when sideloaded. Andrew Foltz has a great video about sideloading. I will leave it linked down in the description. They also have this offline plus button that lets you physically disconnect the modem, the cameras, and all of the radios inside of it to go fully offline. One thing that really impresses me about this device is the battery life. I charged it when I got the device, and then I had to charge it once during this entire week of using it, and I'm still at like 70% battery. This was with maybe 30 minutes of screen on time per day. It also has some great modern features that you wouldn't see on a dumb phone. For example, USB-C charging, so the same cord you use to charge your smartphone can be used for this. It also has wireless charging, which is pretty great. There's also a fingerprint reader on the side button of this device that works very well. And then one of my favorite features is the headphone jack. It feels very cool to be able to plug in my wired headphones and listen to music when I want to. I know it's a little thing, but I absolutely love how the alarm clock sounds on this phone. I haven't been sleeping with my iPhone in my room, and so I used to use an Apple Watch to wake me up on my wrist, but I kept running into an issue where I sleep too deeply for the buzzing of the Apple Watch to wake me up, and so I just oversleep. So then the alternative option was a cheap $9 alarm clock from Walmart, and the sound of that is so terrible. The sounds on the Compact are the perfect balance of being loud enough, but also a pleasant experience to wake up to. Now, in this minimalist phone category, it's kind of like the Wild West. There's no real set definition of exactly what one of these devices is. And so every year as new devices come out, it's interesting to see what changes and things get closer and closer. At the same time as the Mudita Compact is releasing, Lightphone is releasing their Lightphone 3. And this is the closest competitor I can think of. It's an OLED screen versus e-ink is what they've gone with, but the retail price on the Lightphone 3 is $800. The Mudita Compact comes in at $439 US, so almost half the price. Now, another interesting thing about this minimalist phone category is that you're not really paying for the hardware of the device or even necessarily the software. What you're paying for is the experience, the guarantee that you are removing yourself from the overly chaotic digital world. You're also paying for this being a small company that is making these devices in small batches versus the economies of scale that kick in when you run into something like Google, Samsung, or Apple. One thing that's really impressed me about Mudita as a company is how much they listen to customer feedback. In fact, their entire feature roadmap is dictated by feedback directly from customers in their forums, and they've been great to go back and forth with as a creator. Especially for their smaller size, Mudita has done an incredible job of adapting to what their customers are asking for. When I got the phone, I needed to do a firmware update, and then at the beginning of June, I got their next firmware update. And so they're constantly putting out feature releases every single month that are improving the product over time. Next, I think it's important to talk about who this phone isn't for. Number one, if you're someone who absolutely needs a device that keeps you connected at all times, clearly this is not the device for you. Number two, the e-ink screen is just that. It's an e-inked screen. It's not the AMOLED or micro LED screen that you're used to on your modern smartphone. Now, this is a really good e-ink screen, but if you're expecting the buttery smooth experience that you might have on your smartphone, you won't get that. You will, however, get a very usable screen. So for me in this current state, I will personally be using this phone as my nights and weekends phone. I've gotten very good at being able to switch over my SIM between my smartphone that is dumbed down and this device. Once the turn-by-turn navigation function is added, I'm going to give this another crack as my daily driver, and I'm going to keep a very close eye on what Mudita is doing because I think it's really exciting for the future of this particular niche of technology. Thanks to Mudita for sponsoring this video and for letting me share my real opinion on this device. If this is something that seems like it aligns with your goals, there's a link down in the description for you to check out, as well as a code for 15% off your order. Thanks so much for being here, and we will see you next week.